works very well if I'm prepared. And that time it was not. Alright. Wow. Well, we made our debut onto God's Voice today on the 22nd. Let's see. That was not this past Monday, but the Monday before. Excuse me, the 21st. 21st of April. I sat down with Vladimir, to have a small 15-minute conversation. That small 15-minute turned into almost 20 minutes. And he's like, hey, I need you like right now. It's not part of the recording, but he's like, hey, can you sit down at 1 o'clock? Actually, he says, can you please sit down for 1:30? I said, sorry, no. He's like, what? And I said, I'm already scheduled for 1:20. Oh, yeah. And then what ended up happening was we filmed from 1:30 to 5:30, 4 straight hours. And the only reason we stopped is because his camera ran out of memory. And what we later found out is he had me in the recording studio with Riverside for 4 hours, and his camera ran out of space. The recording studio with Riverside kept what the camera did not, but the camera only caught 3 hours, 33 minutes worth. So, that's what they went with. Whew, doggy. So many good things happening. Give me just one moment. I want to check. Someone said earlier on my... Let's see here. This one. Alright, yeah, it is down quite a bit. Let me bring that up a bit. Someone said that my microphone on... or my audio from the previous video was kind of low, so I am addressing that one. So the video on God's Voice today, I logged into my account earlier today with 9+ notifications. Okay, cool. That's great. And then when I went looking through them, not all of them were for what I was doing. So, doing a real quick, give me just a moment to jump over to, currently got 4 notes. And let's see here. Oh, not that one. That's not what I meant to click on. Give me for there. And the comments. 93 comments so far. Screen there. So quite a number of individuals saying, hey, we need part 2. Most profound testimony I've seen here. Story hits close to home. Speaker actually reminds me of my own story and history. I'm planning to speak with Vlad as well. Woo! Sweet. We have someone from Russia. Dear Vladimir, please add Russian subtitles. My translation with Alice gives an error, and I really want to watch this interesting interview. Wow, that's amazing. Um, then we have a few who they don't think that's actually true. And few said don't agree what he said about the Catholic Church. Hey, you don't have to agree. I'm not bothered if you don't agree. And this individual says, don't agree with what he said about treating like mud or you won't enter heaven. I responded, you didn't hear it correctly. I did not say if you treat people like mud, you won't enter heaven. Directly from the transcript, if a person is born in your family, but they do everything they can to run your name through the mud, do everything to treat you like crap, do everything they can to speak evil of God, the church, and everything else, are they still family? God says, yes, that's how I do family. That's what I said. And this fellow, you said you didn't see nail marks or openings on the hand of the Creator, but isn't Jesus our Creator according to John 1? I responded, no, the Word was made flesh and lived among us, but it was God who said, let us make man in our image, and that image is spirit. I spoke to Creator God and saw hands that have no prints in the hands. Every person who has seen Jesus always sees the nail prints. Anyone who sees Jesus without nail prints, it isn't seeing Jesus, but rather Satan as the angel of light. Because Jesus, just as Jesus was with God in the beginning, he was also slain from the foundation of the earth, from Colossians 1. And I'm just typing this in. Do I believe that Jesus is God? Jesus was not God on earth, if that is what you are asking. But when he rose from the dead, proving that the power of God's love was more powerful than the curse of sin, he then had to go to hell. Why? Because the wages of sin is death. He took on death, hell, and the grave. He took on every sin and died, and went to hell, because that is the wage. He then preached to all the Cretans in hell, was tortured by every possible way that every person in hell is tortured. But at the end of those 3 days, he was resurrected by the power of God. Once resurrected, then he was God on earth, but not before. Because if he were God in man at the time of being on earth, then all the things he did on the earth could only be done by him. But he declared of the disciples and all who followed him, greater works than these will you do, because you are my disciples. If the works can only be done by Jesus, it is pointless for him to die on the cross, and pointless for us to believe in him. Good question. It was because I was believing in a dream as though it were a reality. And by that, I was serving fear while claiming to be a Christian. Jesus stated clearly, you cannot serve two masters. And I, the idiot, was doing that in the dream. So, quite a number of people heard about Rebecca Brown. Quite a number of people like, whoa. I I sent a text message to Vlad. I was like, did you say 11 a.m. or 12 p.m.? And he sent back, sorry, 1 p.m. So I, I was sitting on my, I was basically sitting on my phone, refresh on the computer, refresh on the phone, refresh on the computer, refresh, and just going back and forth, trying to figure out when it's going to air. Yeah, I was having so much fun. So, there are currently 93 comments on that one. And there's 17,000 views on that one just 2 days ago. Oh yeah, it caught a lot of attention. On this one, oh sorry, not that one. Come on, give me there. 210 comments. We're sorted by new. You are adults, get a grip, get a thought in your heads. But this one, I really liked this comment. I'm gonna make it bigger so you. Wow, okay. Shy Liette, 11 hours ago. I'm just commenting because it's been on my mind since I listened a couple days ago. This person specifically mentioned Jennifer's channel, Deep Believer, and how some interviewers aren't biblical. He was praising the channel, yet what I picked up on was that specific, some aren't biblical. And I believe I know who he's talking about. So I'm posting just as a reminder to pray over everything. Pray for discernment over all of these supernatural testimonies or encounters. The person I think he was exposing about has recently been exposing some of the things of the enemy, so I believe the enemy is out in full force to deceive people to not believe the person who is exposing it. Also, maybe this guy will soon have an interview on the camera. This, of course, 2 days ago. I'm more likely to believe the ones who put a face to their story. If God tells you to share something and you don't trust him enough to do it publicly or where we can see you, I'm less likely to trust your word at everything you say. Also, I looked up whether people disappear when praying is anywhere in the Bible. It's not. My point is, saying someone's testimony is not real because it's not in the Bible, then giving as testimony of things not in the Bible, well, that doesn't make sense to me. Not saying I don't believe him. I'm just hoping he's not trying to discredit who I believe he is. Because many are, and it's due to things being exposed. She gets it. That's what my discernment tells me. This whole comment is for those who understand who or what I'm talking about. I won't name names or put any doubt in people's minds. We should always we should always pray before watching any of these. God is always the faithful one. I responded, I thank you for that. My testimony first hit the airwaves on the 10th of February, 2022. But the level of spiritual backlash that Deep Believer went through just to post the video made me realize that my story was highly flammable based on whether it was presented from a Christian standpoint or just an out-of-body experience standpoint. As it is with Vlad's channel, he has a 15-minute call with a potential guest, and from that call decides whether or not the interview will happen. 2 weeks before I even heard of the channel, I had a dream that coincided exactly with the prophetic vision that Derek Prince had about the state of North Carolina, where I live. If it weren't for the fact that I had the dream 50 years to the day that Derek Prince had the prophetic message, I would have dismissed the dream as nothing more than a dream. But because of the dreams I've had of joining a larger community than my own, because of conversations I've had with my mentors, and then because one of my mentors passed on to be with Jesus on this past Sunday, I realized that this interview is shaking heaven, hell, and earth. Hell is terrified, heaven is glorified, and I'm just someone who has the privilege to be a new representative of God's voice today. P.S. Your channel was born 1 month before my mega revelation about the court of heaven. I got stopped in my tracks when I saw the date. This shy Liette, her channel, or she opened up her profile on the 7th of July, 2014, exactly 1 month to the day before I got the mega revelation about the court of heaven. I saw that, I was like, whoa! This is wild! So, I'm excited. But, hey, all of this is not going to count for too much of anything if I just keep talking about the channel, or the stuff that happened on YouTube, and not get into teaching. So, while we're getting ready, Father, I thank you for this evening. That despite all the hullabaloo, and all the things that I haven't talked about yet, and the Q&A that's coming up either this Sunday or next Sunday, that there's going to be so many people who are like, oh, this is the missing piece. Because, Father, for me, 10 years ago, it was, not 10 years ago, 10 and a half years ago, it was the missing piece. So, Father, I ask that you open the blinded eyes, open the deaf ears, so that they can begin to hear what exactly is standing in their way, stopping them from being able to hear exactly what it is you are talking about in this thing of bitterness that keeps us from understanding the things of God. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. Okay, I made that video more than a month ago, and it has proven to be just as in your face as has previously. Um, Setting up for the sharing of a tab. Tonight's topic, because we pretty well hammered confusion together, put it together, or sorry, not confusion, we pretty well put together control. Hammered that one into the dirt pretty well. Got it. Tonight is confusion. And the very first one that's in the confusion rank is Saul again. We ain't going to go back to Saul. But suffice it to say, he was confused. He was confused as to why he couldn't just do his own thing. And why God wouldn't bless him for just doing his own thing. So we ain't going to go back into that. We are going to go into, and I have it set a little bit differently because I'm trying to see what it will look like when I have it vertically instead of horizontally. Then one of one of the 12 disciples, who was called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, "What are you willing to give me if I hand Jesus over to you?" And they weighed out 30 pieces of silver. And from that moment, Judas began looking for an opportune time to betray Jesus. Now, there's at least one here. There's a G. 30 pieces of silver is probably 1 month's wages. So, if we are thinking about the way in which they are handing out money for Jesus to be betrayed, that would be, to me, like handing out to me. Ooh, where'd that come from? Uh, that's wild. Um, let me. What the heck is going on? That's never happened before. Um, One moment. Um, Wild. Bear with me one moment. I may have to, well, I may have to stop because now I have 3. That is wild. I will be right back.